Europe was on fire. In 1789, the French Revolution shattered the old world. The streets of Paris filled with chaos, anger, and blood as ordinary people rose against the monarchy. King Louis XVI was losing control, and across France, one word echoed louder than anything else: revolution. The fall of the Bastille changed everything. To the people of France, it was the symbol of freedom. But to the kings of Europe, it was a warning. If revolution spread beyond France, every throne in Europe could collapse. And in the middle of this chaos, a young officer was preparing for destiny. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte. Born on the island of Corsica, Napoleon was not born into great power or wealth. He was a quiet outsider with an obsession for military strategy. While other commanders followed tradition, Napoleon believed speed, surprise, and fear could destroy even the strongest armies. In 1793, during the siege of Toulon, Napoleon got his first real chance to prove himself. British forces had taken control of the port, and the French army was struggling to fight back. Napoleon saw what others could not. He placed artillery in positions no one expected, launched a devastating attack, and forced the British fleet to retreat. Overnight, the young artillery officer became a national hero. But France itself was still collapsing. After the revolution, the country was drowning in political violence. Riots filled the streets. Executions became common. Fear ruled Paris.
Then came 1795. Royalist forces launched an uprising against the revolutionary government. Desperate and terrified, the government turned to Napoleon for help. Napoleon answered with cannons. Without hesitation, he positioned artillery across the streets of Paris and crushed the rebellion within hours. Smoke covered the city, bodies filled the roads, and suddenly France saw Napoleon as the man who could restore order. That moment changed his life forever. Soon after, Napoleon was given command of the French army in Italy. The army he inherited was starving, exhausted, and poorly equipped. Many soldiers had no proper boots. Some had barely eaten in days. But Napoleon stood before them and delivered a speech they would never forget. "You are hungry and poorly clothed, but I will lead you into the most fertile plains in the world. Rich provinces and great cities will be in your power." The soldiers believed him. And then the impossible began. In 1796, Napoleon launched a lightning-fast campaign across Italy. Again and again, he defeated larger Austrian armies with terrifying efficiency. His tactics shocked Europe. He moved troops faster than anyone thought possible. He attacked weak points before enemies could react. He divided enemy armies and destroyed them one by one. Every victory made his legend grow larger. To the people of France, Napoleon was no longer just a general. He was becoming something greater. A symbol of power. A symbol of glory. A symbol of destiny. But Napoleon's ambitions were growing beyond Europe. He believed Britain was France's greatest enemy, and to weaken the British Empire, he needed to strike its trade routes. His target was Egypt. In 1798, Napoleon led thousands of soldiers across the Mediterranean Sea toward North Africa. When his army reached the pyramids, Napoleon stood before his troops and declared, "Soldiers, from the top of these pyramids, 40 centuries look down upon you." Then came the Battle of the Pyramids. The French army crushed the Mamluk warriors with brutal efficiency. Europe watched in shock as Napoleon conquered Egypt almost effortlessly. But victory would not last. Far out at sea, the British fleet was approaching. Leading them was Admiral Horatio Nelson, one of Britain's greatest naval commanders. At the Battle of the Nile, Nelson launched a devastating attack against the French fleet. Cannons thundered across the water. Ships exploded into flames.
The night sky turned red, and when the battle ended, the French navy was destroyed. Napoleon was trapped in Egypt. For many men, this would have meant defeat, but not for Napoleon. He realized France itself was falling apart once again. Political corruption, economic collapse, and weak leadership were tearing the country apart. So Napoleon made a dangerous decision. He abandoned Egypt and secretly returned to France. In 1799, the nation was desperate for stability. The government was weak. The people had lost faith in their leaders. Napoleon saw his opportunity. With the support of the military, he launched a coup. Within hours, the government collapsed. Power now belonged to Napoleon Bonaparte. He declared himself first consul of France.
A young officer from Corsica had just taken control of one of the most powerful nations in Europe. But this was only the beginning, because soon Napoleon would face Austria, Britain, Russia, and nearly all of Europe in a war that would reshape human history forever. The world was about to enter the age of the Napoleonic Wars. But Napoleon's greatest war was still ahead.